Police or zombie problems? Your tortoise won't stop breakdancing?
Try blue tape.
The miracle of our age. Yay! Hey, we love that umbrella guy. All right. Thank you.
I'm calling from Los Angeles, and I'm having a little problem under the name ThATuMBRELLAgUY. I sent him my phone number at least 20 times in the chat and told him to call me. He ignored me. I'm a man. I filed the report. If you guys could take a look at it and give me a call back, I would love to hear what you guys can do to help us. We really need to kind of stop this guy at least until Monday. I told him to call me. I'm a man.
It's the ghost of the web broadcasting coast to coast. Who's the epic villain you miss the most? It's the umbrella guy listening to them crying as they pull the plug because their case is dying. It's falling apart, listen to them scream. Gotta laugh if they're stupid on my next live stream. The down he goes, another lawyer falls. Like reverse Pokemon, you gotta wreck them all. They just got nuked, their case turned to ash. And how they blame the plaintiff and beg the court for cash. And all the excuses, how is any of this real? They can sanction them, Your Honor, we cannot pay our bills. And for all those reasons and what you said about jail, I'm gonna change my arguments and blame Mr. Hales. Picture a lawyer so corrupt he lies about proof, about messages, about his own words. He even frames his lawsuits as other people's filings. Why? Because accountability isn't a word in their vocabulary. Who's the epic villain? Broadcasting coast to coast. Who's the epic villain you missed the most? It's that young umbrella guy.
All right, what's up? Hey, I'm still on my matrimony one. I forgot. Let me change avatars here. If you missed out, by the way, there was a very wonderful service today where one puppo and one pair-headed lawyer, aka Jay and Miyagi, they were married in bliss. What a beautiful day, Ryan. What a beautiful day indeed. It is funny. Like I said, I am actually able to marry people for real under my real name and under that umbrella guy. So are they really married? You might want to ask yourselves that. What's up, folks, by the way? It has been a wild day. Remember yesterday I said, well, I want to read over a couple of documents today, and we'll definitely hit them unless something crazier happens. Yeah, about that. About that indeed. So we actually had two things pop off today that were quite wild, in fact. We had number one, we had Jamie Starr Johnson, Shara Wolf dropped an interview with her. Now, that by itself is pretty amazing. But on top of that, today, you had a wonderful decision come in. And this decision, it's for this little thing we call judicial default. Now, barring anything new that pops off on this, what this means is that the remnant of trespass 5, remember Granger and Granger, that was the remnant of it. Yeah, it's toast. I wonder how Lynette feels about that, by the way. I wonder how she feels, because if it were me, I would be I would be so mad, because she had been promised all of these things. That she was promised quite a few things by her lawyer. She's also in her mind, Lynette, I hope you hear this, by the way. I really do hope you hear this. I'm sure you have been told for your bankruptcy that it's just going to wipe all this stuff away. It's not. It's not. So what you're looking at, this is now, I want to make this clear to people. The remnant of trespass 5 is a Granger case. However, this has a potentially huge impact for Hales. First of all, it is a huge domino to fall. That also kind of gives you a look into Judge Graves' mind, because he decided very quickly too. He could have waited around, and he could have allowed them to potentially see if their bankruptcy would stand, but he was like, nah, it's been a long time. And it had, by the way, it had been a long time of denying these people justice. They had been dragged through court with garbage claims, and he didn't seem to be okay with that. And he shouldn't be. Nobody should be, to be honest. I mean, it was a terrible lawsuit. But we told Lynette over and over again, this stuff it's not a good lawsuit. It's terrible. In fact, it's probably the worst lawsuit I've ever read. Just to be honest, like for real, it's the worst. I believe the person that wrote it is still writing lawsuits. To be honest, I think he's still involved with all of this. I mean, only time will play that out. But it's yeah. So, Judge Grabe, like I said, interesting win. What I want to do today is I want to read this order for you, and on top of it, I want to read you where we came from. We keep talking about. Some people are telling me they have never seen Trespass 5 again, or they don't remember it, and that's fine. Even if you do remember it, it is a terrible lawsuit, and you can see how we end up. Here. Remember, Trespass 5 goes to a certain point. Remember, we call it the Trespass 5 for a certain reason. We'll go over all of that. But it had it gets dropped. You have an offshoot asking for judicial default for malicious. Remember, there was a complaint for malicious prosecution. Now, let me show you the complaint, and then I'll show you the decision here. So you can understand, because there's some confusion over what this is. So remember, Granger and Granger. Now, I want you to understand something, too. All right. So they seek damages in excess of $50,000. In excess, exclusive of attorney fees and costs. So we are talking about the starting line being $50,000 for what we're going to see here. Right here. This is Lynette. Lynette, you can't win this lawsuit, no matter what I kept telling you, right? Thumbnail lawsuit, same way, unwinnable, garbage lawsuits, and they're all like this. They are all just like it. They are unwinnable for you. You thought that they wouldn't be. You thought you could actually manage something with it. No. Yeah, exactly, Andre. This is good news for Jeremy, George, and friends. Indeed, because Granger and Granger, with this, what you got to understand here. Let me pull this up just to show you what we're talking about today. Let me show you the motion. I'm not going to, like I said, I want to do these in order, but I will show you. There is a considerably new one. So again, order granting motion for judicial default. Okay, so that is the new thing. That's whoops, checkmate again. So what are they talking about though? This is what I'm reading before we get to this, but I do want you to understand what came in today. It is a monster. It is an absolute monster, and it is big because again, Trespass 5 was noted about, even though Jeremy wasn't part of it, he was noted in over half of it. And that by itself, with Lynette Preston being involved and more, that by itself would it'll make some pretty good discussion in other cases. You know, if they would have done this right, they would have it would have been harder to work it into other cases, but it's not. It's absolutely not. So again, just hitting this really quickly, we're talking about off of the complaint for malicious prosecution, the spinoff again, because it was malicious. They asked for excess $50,000, exclusive attorney fees and costs. Again, venue, who cares there? The allegations were that on September the 18th, 2024, that Lynette Preston filed a lawsuit alleging that plaintiffs committed wrongful acts sounding in tort and sought damages for. Look at all the stuff she tried to claim. Again, we told her this is a bad idea, Lynette. It's not going to go away. You think it will. But I think she thought payday, payday, payday. And again, remember, ultimately, the guy who wrote these, who admittedly wrote these two lawsuits that are really in question, one here, that ends up spinning this off, and the other one in the thumbnail litigation. Remember, he's not in the court, so he's not really like, it's just like what we've been talking about with 2L now. Lynette ultimately is holding the bag. No matter what happens, Lynette is the one that pays for it all. And it amazes me when you get down to it. But intentional infliction of emotional distress, invasion of privacy, conversion, invasion of privacy with the publication of private information, civil conspiracy, economic damage, exemplary damages, punitive damages, costs, attorney's fees, etc. Now, again, they noted, well, with that, Lynette, well, it all commenced by Preston against that originating solely with their actions. As such, these actions constitute the legal causation of the proceedings, which were commenced against plaintiffs. A dismissal was filed with respect to the proceedings. Again, talking about Trespass 5. We will look at that filing in just a second, too. This, you said a song, or I'll check that out. This results bona fide termination of the proceedings brought by Preston's actions that were in favor of plaintiffs. At no time material to this matter was there probable cause for proceedings. In commencing the proceedings, Preston acted with malice. So, wherefore, plaintiffs demand judgment against Preston for damages suffered in the amount of $55,000 plus prejudgment interest, the cost of suit, and any other relief. Anything else. So again, we are talking about a starting point. I want to make that clear when we're going in. Preston is looking down the barrel. We've been talking about all of her money and stuff. Knock. Sorry to interrupt. This login allows me to do a super chat, but my full account does not allow them at all. Look at all. Sorry to bug in. That's weird, man. That's weird. Is anybody else having problems like that? Because that's really weird. One of the things, I had to do this the other day. So this didn't have anything to do with YouTube, but it had to do with PlayStation. So I decided the girls and I, we play games together. We play we play scary games, like zombie games and stuff, and I decided I would get a game where my oldest and I, we would run around. There's a game called Dying Light where you can run around and you get chased by messed up monsters. There's a new chapter in that came out Thursday. Well, when I went to input my stuff, it would not let me do anything with it for some reason. I had to go in, change the pay source, and there was no reason for it whatsoever. And I don't know. Maybe there's just something weird with pay process. I'm not sure if it's account things. I don't know what's going on. But thank you for letting me know too. By the way, if you enjoy the content today, tell people we're live, of course. You know, Saturday is the worst live streaming day. This is big news for a Saturday. I mean, this is crazy stuff. And of course, if you would like to help out, liking and going beyond that, think about those Yo breadsticks, because the Yo breadsticks, they keep the power a rolling. Actually, it's good too. Today has been a crazy day. I had to actually go in and I don't know if you ever have one of those days. I was running a minute and a half behind from the 15 after. You know, by myself, I try to start faster than that. But today, the battery in my vehicle went dead. Had to buy a new one. Not fun, not fun at all. But on top of that, got rain in my phone. It started raining. I was like, no. Then my computer crapped out. I think it's going to need a new part because I'm probably going to have to retower it. I told somebody, I said this the other day, I've replaced a couple of pieces, but I've had the same tower since the DEP trial. And this thing, it gets a lot of work. So it's been one of those days, but this evens it out. So check this out here. Order granting motion for judicial default. So this cause came before the court upon plaintiff's motion for judicial default against plaintiff, and the court being fully advised makes the following finding. So this is going to break down, what happened and how we get here. So plaintiffs, they filed a complaint in this action March 25th, 2025. Okay. This is when Granger and Granger step up. Just to make this clear, we're not talking about when all this other stuff kicks off. If you look at the complaint, remember the complaint I just showed you? If you look at the date on it when filed, you can see what's addressed. See, there's been confusion over what is being addressed here. So you can see date of the filing for Granger and Granger, again, with malicious prosecution. You see the date, 3/25. All right. So March 25th. That clears it up for anybody that's confused on that too. I want you all to understand that, Battery tower money. Maybe I can build a tower of battery. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you. But the plaintiffs were properly served with this process on June 28th, 2025. So they knew about it in June. They absolutely knew. Now, they knew about it. I'm going to say that they knew about it before that, but in the court, they knew about it June 28th, 2025. They knew about it because their then mouthpiece, the one that is turned on them and turned on them heavily. Whew, man, there's a few things, man. Lynette. You thought these people would be with you, and they were just bilking you. There's a couple other things. I think they took money from you with a couple other things too. I have some questions for you. I really, I'd like to know. I got thinking about, and we'll talk about those in a minute too. But you thought back when that they were helping you out. Just look how far things have come from June to September. Look how the world has changed. But in June, she was served. Now, the time for defendant to serve a responsive pleading has expired. Okay, so here's the thing you need to remember. Remember Lynette was talking about a responsive pleading? She wanted to file something, we read it. Well, here's the thing. And remember, I realized that your lawyer tragically passed, but you have another guy. Why didn't he tell you what you're supposed to do? Why didn't Bruce actually tell you to get something in during that time? See, Lynette, she was aiming for this. Check this out here. So Lynette, if you missed it for some reason, she said that she wanted to put this in, which this was dumb, Lynette, anyway. The way you file, if you filed this exactly how you're showcasing, you made a mess of it. because she tried to answer with answers, defenses, and counterclaims. And now this was after the time period had expired. But she also, in the back of it, according to her, she was putting a motion to open default. Now, again, the judge is telling her today, yo, time passed. But in the back of this, she put in this. Now, why you wouldn't lead with this, I have no idea. In fact, if a lawyer told you and wrote this up for you, I imagine a lawyer wrote this up for you. You know, it says written with the help of lawyer. Come on. But this is what she tried to argue. She put in the answers, defenses, and counterclaims. She wanted to countersue. Like I told you all, she was trying to sue the Grangers in return. Well, she noted, as the court is aware, I filed a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, but due to my counsel's electronic filing issues, it was dismissed. He filed a reinstatement motion, which is to be heard. Bankruptcy court, October 7th. You notice the court didn't hang around either. They knew when it was going to be heard, but they didn't care. Why? Because you didn't follow the rules in their court. You know, the other thing that would be clear to the court too is the fact, like when they're deciding against you and saying, well, time has expired, they would probably notice how many times you guys kicked the can down that proverbial road. You know, when you look at both of these cases, when you look at thumbnail case, which is still setting out there, but also trespass 5, when you check those two things out, what you start to notice is they were kicking the can down the road a long time. For what, February? So September, you know, come on, man. This stuff has been sitting around for a long time. Now, the judge decided, even though they told them in that hearing that we have a hearing in the hearing that they had together, that there would be something commencing in October, the judge decided, I'm going to make my decision right now. Now, that tells you, again, something about the mindset there. That tells you Judge Gravy, he's not playing around. I kind of like this guy right now. I do. But she was like, it's expected that the bankruptcy will be instated. That's meaningless. So when she's saying, you know, when she's wanting a court to hear all of this mess, that doesn't matter. In the case, the automatic stay. I've relied on automatic stay being in effect and would not have filed to respond to the complaint if I'd understood the plaintiffs would rush to seek default. Again, blame them. Blame the other people for you not doing your thing. That'll make the judge listen, right? Hint, it didn't. I can have sought a time extension, which I believe the court would have granted. Why didn't you then? So it should not make any difference, given that now I'm responding, and it's not very long after whatever deadline. See here, she's telling the court, this is what I want you to notice here. And it's not very long after whatever deadline there was. I know I had a deadline, but it ain't too far overdue. This is the problem with all these people, man. You know, every single one of them, they file things and they file them late, very, very late. We saw it. Fed 1. We've seen it with thumbnail. We didn't really see anything with trespass. We saw this after the fact, but we didn't see anything play in trespass. Was just a mess. But you know, and on and on. People would not do what they're supposed to. And really, if Bolitho would run his court like he should, you wouldn't have that problem there too. So, you know, she brings this up, and the court is like, you know what? We here we are. Let me pull this back up again. The court is like, well, you know what? The time to serve a responsive pleading, it's expired. You can only expect a judge to hold things up for so long. And then you're out of luck, man. You're out of luck. So, pursuant to Florida Rule of Civil Procedure 1.500B, the court, not the clerk, is authorized to enter a default when a party amongst whom affirmative relief is sought has failed to plead or otherwise defend the action. So again, it notes, hey, the judge has the ability to decide what's happening. That's the court. I always love when you read this stuff too. Always remember when you're reading something that is coming from a judge, read the court as me, as the judge. It'd be like me, because the judge talking about themselves. I, not the clerk, I am authorized. I always like it better that way because if you imagine it that way, it plays better. But when a party has filed or served any document in the action, quote, that party must be served with a notice of application for default as required by Florida Rule of Civil Procedure 1.500B. Again, they tell you here, this is case precedent that I'm referring to. Now, the court finds that the plaintiffs have properly served defendant with notice of application for default as required under Florida law. And they did right off the bat. If you listen, though, see, this is the thing, the ecosystem, they love to lie. And yet they lied again when they talked about that hearing that happened. If you go back and you listen to them, they tell you repeatedly that the judge he wasn't ready to act on stuff. Yeah, he was. In fact, Randy had to follow a specific pattern. A, B equals C. You got to go forward, A to B to C. Well, Randy did that. And this judge, though, he was ready to go. He let them know that. And they were pretending like, no. This stuff, it could go on for a million years. Like, see, this is a problem. Like, again, Lynette, you're in a real bad position. You have let people convince you. And you know that Lynette is sitting around still thinking. It is not dawned on her. She is probably, I wonder how many times a week people, again, I'm sure that even though 2L is turned, BBB is probably still maintaining communications or some of these others out there. How many times a week are they saying, hey, don't worry about this stuff? Because the bankruptcy, it'll fix it. Now, again, Lynette, the stuff that you did this maliciously. This is a case. You must understand whether you agree with it or not. I realize you don't agree with it, but this is a complaint for malicious prosecution. Now, if you look up malicious, something with malice, what that means is that you willfully, you knowingly did it. Okay? Now, when you look at something that's dischargeable, again, as I've said many times, but I want you to understand this, you cannot discharge something that has been willfully done. If you maliciously, if I went out and I maliciously destroyed anything from, let's just say I maliciously destroyed your home. I set it on fire, and again, nobody, that is not pointed at anybody. I'm just saying, if I willfully did that, would you want me to be able to discharge it? Be like, that is no big deal. Would you think that was fair? Absolutely not. You want me in prison, right? And obviously, we do not want fires. Do not contact, do not do anything, but you know what I mean, right? That's malicious. Well, a lot of people will see actions that are malicious, but they don't understand that in a court, filing something, going out and trying to ruin someone's life with baseless prosecution, something with no foundation whatsoever, costing them money where you don't intend to go forward, that's an issue. Will she refuse to hand over records and get defaulted or contempt of court? Will she defy a judge and play with him? It'll be great. I mean, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. All of it's amazing, right? All of it, isn't it? I mean, everything, all these people, they're all like that, cynic. I mean, it's gotten, yeah, like you said, with the flea, that's who you're talking about with this. It's even worse. Actually, it's bad for Lynette, too. It's bad for her in Fed 1. Because in Fed 1, she's like, I'm not going to show you that. And no matter what the reason that she says, she has showcased. Here's something you got to understand, Lynette. You've showcased things in bankruptcy and more that say that you did have proof that you could have turned over. When you turn over several, whether it's messages, remember you're supposed to turn over every message that dealt with Jeremy Hales? Huh, well, that's weird. Have we seen some of those recently? What about bankruptcy filings? Where you turned over 3 cellular providers, all that kind of stuff. That is a problem. Yes, these people think that they can just thumb it at the courts, and the courts are going to be okay with that. And there's a hint they're not. Courts don't like that. So, I mean, it's so insane. But the court, it finds that plaintiffs, they had properly served with notice of the application for default as required under Florida law. Again, you have all the case law with that. You can always tell when the judge writes it too, because it's not, the judge isn't having to convince anybody. When you look at it, this is one of the things that amazes me when we look at Fed 2, when we look at the defendants in Fed 2. Those defendants write like they think they're the judges. You know what I mean? They write something out where they don't actually know what the point is to that stuff. Like they'll say, well, look, here's, like when the court writes it out, they're just like, look, this is what it says, and these are my sources that back that up. Now, if you're trying to convince a judge of this, you need to write in an argument with it. You know what I mean? And say, this is what those sources say. But a judge doesn't have to do that. That's why when I've made fun of the anemic filings for the ecosystem, when I'm like, those are pretty bad. That's what I mean. They write like they think they're the judges, when really you shouldn't think that. The judge does not want to be the finder of fact. You present an argument and the judge, they try to decide stuff with it, Thank you. So the court further finds that despite this wonderful proper notice here, so even though Granger and Granger with Randy, remember Randy is, give me one second, I gotta open something. If you hear some awful sarin sound, I apologize. I have a wonderful thing from the depths of the fridge. It is a frosty. How dare people put that in front of me while I'm streaming? I'm like, no. But anyway, they find that despite the proper notice, defendant has failed to file or serve any responsive pleading or otherwise defend the action. Now, you notice, again, all this time that things had gone on. Remember, Lynette, you'll watch her, she'll try to argue, well, I tried to file something. Well, the whole item here is the time to be serving a responsive pleading. It had passed. Courts don't want to have a court case on the docket forever. That's one of the things I kept telling you about, how this would go badly for them. They kept kicking it down the road, kicking that can, as it were. And after a while, courts are like, you know what? We want you to do what we tell you to do. After a while, it's no good to just kick it down the road. So the court finds they didn't do that. So the court has reviewed the motion, and the court finds that the entry of a judicial default is appropriate under these circumstances. So the judge has found that that the default. Now, again, we will see them probably try to argue, try to do something about this. You got to remember too, Lynette, here's your problem. When you're when one lawyer abandons you in one case and another lawyer talked you into getting someone that, again, Stark wasn't ready. Stark actually wanted to abandon you before health problems. He wanted to abandon you when it looked like this was going to go forward for a while. So you could see that even before health problems got discussed, he was going to drop out. He knew that this was a problem for himself. And in that, again, you're left holding the bag, but I still think it has not dawned on you how bad things are getting. I don't think you understand, and you will. You will. But a judicial default is hereby entered against defendant Michelle Preston for failure to serve or file any paperwork as required by law. Plaintiffs may proceed accordingly. Isn't that beautiful? That is a huge, huge win in court. That is a monster of a win. A judicial default. I mean, it tells the judge that you don't care. Again, Michelle Preston wants to blame everyone else too. But remember, these were her cases. This is a response to her filings. She filed a terrible lawsuit. Now let's look at this. Again, I'm not being a jerk about this terrible lawsuit. I want you to understand what happened with this, okay? I really do. Because so many people, they don't know. Now, the reason we call it Trespass 5, remember, there was a guy staying on the property of Michelle Preston. His name was Lloyd. Lloyd, he had a trailer there. He did not want to be there. He had contacted multiple people saying he didn't want to be there, and he wanted his property gone. He had had an accident. He was injured. Well, law enforcement was contacted. You had a crew he wanted to bring in. You'll see the crew's name right here. He was going to bring these people in. Well, you had a deputy that was there before they were allowed on. The deputy made Lloyd come to the property, even though he was recouping from hip surgery. He was still forced to come out there on the bumpy ass road, deal with this emotional stuff. And there was a sheriff's deputy there the whole time telling people how things were supposed to go. And despite that, you have Preston, and under Preston, you have Preston for the minor child, HG, deciding to go after the Grangers, deciding to go after Deanna West, go after Rex, go after Travis, and they also decided, in addition to these trespass monsters, they decided to add the deputy. Now, what was crazy about this terrible filing, though, is that this is written about George and Jeremy. It is all about the Hale. Even though you notice George and Jeremy are not a party to this. First thing with the facts, when you start talking about the facts of a case, you typically don't lead with some kind of insane conspiracy theory, but this does. It says, well, back in 2023 summer, Jeremy and George, they fabricated a reality drama for content on their YouTube channel. Already starting out crazy, right? Already. Now, of course, channel What the Hales, it centers around, according to them, Miss Preston and John Cook, the ex-husband with which she resides. Now, the theme of What the Hales reality drama was bad neighbors and was originated based on the false premise that Miss Preston, quote unquote, stalked us to Otter Creek by purchasing property located across the road where Jeremy and George own property. Now, again, does this have anything to do with the 5 people we noted? No. And he continues, I want you to really drink this in, because this is how we ended up where we are now, because they filed one of the worst lawsuits known to man. Jeremy and George have used Preston, Cook, and HG as fodder for content on their YouTube channel, subjecting them to harassment, bullying, cyberstalking, defamation, invasion of privacy, thousands of menacing and vulgar comments by What the Hales fans on social media, messages, phone calls from strangers threatening, and strangers making false CPS reports, resulting in dozens of visits. Now, isn't that interesting? Because the visits are now coming from the people that she thought were on her side. That the ones she's alleging are now happening. They're coming from them. After a while, that works really. That doesn't work in your favor either, Miss Preston, because what happens is when you have Northport, when you have calls coming in with, I mean, again, those people talked about calling CPS on you. So I'm going to say that they did. You know, I'm going to say that the anti-Hales people, the anti-Preston people now too, you know, because they are the same thing. Anti-Hales, also anti-Preston. They did it. Now, never before or currently has there been another major YouTube content creator devoting their YouTube content almost exclusively to target a private person or persons, let alone elderly, poor, and disabled. With defamation, bullying, stalking, harassing, invasion of privacy, legal threats, physical threats, sarcastic incitement of thousands of strangers by casting targeted persons as villainous characters in a reality or fake reality story. This is so bad. Again, what does this have anything to do with the people we've talked about yet? No, it has nothing to where they are real life persons involuntarily being made into public personas for the purpose of being targeted and destroyed for YouTube content. Hale's use of his channel against Miss Preston has taken such a toll on Miss Preston's time, energy, and emotions that it has virtually destroyed the ability of Miss Preston and her daughter to live normal lives and spend their peaceful and joyful time together that any mother and child would consider priceless and could never be recovered or replaced. Now, again, still not the lawsuit is still talking about What the Hales. Now, in addition to What the Hales, numerous other YouTube channels cover bad neighbor fake reality story, enjoying the privilege of showing Hale's videos on their own channels so long as they propagate Hale's storyline, even repeating those derogatory nicknames from Miss Preston and other characters in Hale's story. Now, a major storyline in that was, again, that she's supposed to be an unfit mother to a special needs daughter, HG, whom she adopted at birth 2019. A storyline advanced by Hales with dozens of defamatory videos portraying Miss Preston as crazy and her property as squalid and dangerous. Better be careful, because you know who they're going to start quoting? They're going to start quoting, they're going to be like, well, her own PR says this. Your own PR has started saying some pretty awful things about your property and about your parenting. That's pretty bad. Now, as a result, again, still not about the people being served. Still, as a result of the Save HG storyline, What the Hales fans have made false CPS reports to Levy County CPS. 27 visits as of filing this complaint. One, so here's veteran. Before we even get to the people who are being sued, we even have Veteran Nation come into this. Isn't that amazing? Again, worst filing I've ever seen. Like I said, reading this to you to make the point, this is how you end up not only they could have either dropped or lost. It would have been the same result. Preston thinks that she had a winner of this. She had been convinced of it. Terrible lawsuit. Again, You cannot force someone not to pick up their property. You can't make them relinquish their property. She thought she could. She thought she could force Lloyd to play by her rules, picking up his property. Again, if she never wanted anybody coming on her property, then don't have people living there. Does that suck? Okay. You know, I wouldn't want people on my property either, but I don't have people living on my property either. You know, I also am not trying to get their campers, I guess, according to Lloyd anyway, for the sole price of $1. You know what's weird is that was talked about one time too, not just by Lloyd. I found something else talking about that. That's a weird one, but anyway. So Veteran Nation, in every case, CPS has reported no abuse or neglect, never found any reason to take any action whatsoever, yet Hale's and other YouTube channels profiting off What the Hale's content continue to propagate that HG needs to be rescued from her mother. Now, Lloyd, oh my God, we're finally getting toward this. So, how many pages did we have to go through to get to this, you might ask? Well, let's see. What was this? Number 1, 2, 3, 4. Give me a second. I'm checking something. So we had to go in 4 pages deep before we even got to something that dealt with the lawsuit at hand. I've never seen a lawsuit try this tact. So 4 pages deep. And you finally get to something that deals with the people in the lawsuit. There's no explanation of what happened before that. Nothing else. I mean, again, this is a terribly filed lawsuit. If I were just reading this and never heard about it at all, I would think, I read, when I say this is one of the worst lawsuit I've read, I read a lawsuit by a woman that claimed that Elon Musk was stalking her and had, I kid you not, this is true, and had been trying to harass her. So he stood outside of her private fence where her car was and was flinging poop like a monkey over it. That's a real lawsuit, by the way. This is worse than that. At least that was funny. At least it dealt with Elon. Oh, it's one of my favorites too. Oh my God, that was a good one too. Yes, that's a real lawsuit, by the way. I'm not kidding. A very mentally ill woman wrote a lawsuit about Elon Musk, and she could have written it in Crayola, and this lawsuit is worse than that. Oh my God! All right, I'm good. Every time I think of that lawsuit, it cracks me up. You remember that one? Actually, yes. I mean, that is one of the weirdest lawsuits I've ever read. But it's still, as crazy as it is, God, there was that woman that claimed that she was like a fan and Johnny Depp was in a love triangle with her. That lady wrote a better lawsuit than this. Oh, my God. Anyway, so Lloyd Campbell, RV, lived in an RV on Miss Preston's property from March to August 2024, pursuant to an agreement that was never showcased, by the way. We never actually saw any proof that this existed ever, but they supposedly have an agreement to purchase the RV for $7,000, $500 per month rent coming off that price. If Campbell left, he would leave the RV and they would continue paying him at $200 monthly, you know? So what's that? 6 months? Is that correct? What, March, April, May, June, July, August? Yeah, if they counted, that's 6 months. Okay, so that's wild, by the way. You know what's really snaky about all this? If Lloyd would have stayed there, they would have found a way to take his RV. They would have, if you wouldn't have had help, they would have been like, well, within a year, what's yours? Your home is mine. Get off the property. we own your house. That's wild, isn't it? So just by living there, if he would have stayed there for a year, well, a year and change, but still, if he would have stayed there, they would have, because it would have taken them a little bit of time to kick him off the property too. You got to remember, they've got to go through kicking him out. But still, after that, they would have claimed very quickly that they owned his property. And God, within a year and a half, they would have had him out of his home and on the road. That's nuts. But so they're trying to say that she would have been on a payment plan of 20 months for $200. Huh. So June 2024, Campbell, he falls, breaks his hip while drunk, and providing alcohol to 3 times. Again, this right here is defamatory as hell. When I saw that, I thought, man, Lloyd, there's actually statements by Preston that allege that, but everything that we saw coming from other folks denied that allegation. So that's just some unproven allegation that was written into a lawsuit. Crazy stuff, man. Resulting a lengthy stay in rehabilitation center, an absence from Miss Preston's property. And you wonder why the guy might want to leave, by the way. When you read this gives you more insight into why Lloyd probably want to get the hell out of there. Because he didn't, if you listen to Preston and you read the text messages, what you really got the feeling of was that Lloyd was not allowed to leave. And if it would have been on his own, if he wouldn't have broken his hip, how would he have gotten out of there? See, they sued the people that tried to help him get off there. And again, if they would have been more competent, they still wouldn't have had a winner of a lawsuit, but they could have cost some people some real money. But while recovering, Mr. Campbell was induced by Hales and George during a reported phone call broadcast on What the Hales YouTube channel to claim to be in fear for his life. Yeah, you see what I mean? Like, they introduced this too. They say it's conspiracy, not that Lloyd might actually be in fear for his life. And Miss Preston, so Mr. Hales offered to send a crew of quote unquote his people to retrieve Campbell's RV, other belongings from Miss Preston's property, in exchange for Campbell agreeing to file a false elder abuse claim against Miss Preston. See, it's false when you accuse her of one, but if you ever say that she did something, you're accused of it. It's wild, isn't it? Instead of leaving the RV in accordance with the contract with Miss Preston, Campbell, who is not in the lawsuit, by the way, this is yet another person that is not part of the lawsuit, but they still bring up. They don't sue the guy that supposedly was in breach of contract, but they sue the people who picked up his property to help him out. Campbell arranged with Hales to quote unquote rescue his RV and his other possessions from Miss Preston's property, a pretext orchestrated by Hales to have quote unquote his people gain entry to Miss Preston's property. Here's a weird thing. What do you think Preston had recorded that people couldn't see from the road or from fishing game? Out of that, what new thing did you see on that property that, I mean, I may have had a little bit more detail about the shock step, as it were, step on this step and you get electrocuted, but I don't feel like I got anything extra out of that, So to say that his people needed to gain entry, okay, well, what thing did they gain out of it? It's weird too. When you listen to this weird conspiracy, Hales wasn't the one trying to buy the property out from under her recently. You know? You know what I mean? The people that were trying to buy the property out from under her, that would be the ones I would be thinking, or, have a motive to do something weird, but what I know. Anyway, Sunday, August 12th, 2024, Preston was at home on her property with her 4-year-old HG with defendants. We're talking about the sheriff, or deputy sheriff, arrives with the trespass 5 here and informed Miss Preston that they were there to retrieve the RV and other property supposedly belonging to Campbell. Now, Miss Preston and HG were terrified and intimidated by having 5 people and an armed sheriff deputy suddenly appear and disrupt peace and privacy. Hale's orchestrated this invasion of Miss Preston's privacy to occur when she was the only adult present on the property at the time of the arrival of the defendant, as was known to all. Now, where was John? That would have been a fun discussion, by the way. They'd have been like, where was he? Well, at the time, it was alleged that he had pulled a pew-pew on a car filled with 3 people. Now, does that sound like something that might make Lloyd afraid for his life? I don't know. You tell me. No way somebody was afraid for their life. This is such a... See, I love the way things like this come up. And the reason I say that is because you've got to remember something. In a lawsuit, when you write up something, you have to think, what can the other party, when I write this up, what will they be able to introduce because of what I say? Every time you cover something in a lawsuit, you have to be careful what you introduce, what you complain about there, because again, it opens up discussion points. This right here opens up a discussion about John Cook being arrested for pulling a pew-pew on 3 people, which at the time, again, would make somebody potentially afraid for their life. I mean, when you look at it, if you were to tell a reasonable person that what I just said there, do you think they might be like, yeah, I understand? And again, Lloyd doesn't have to be afraid for his life. Lloyd could have been like, I just want to leave. It doesn't matter. He doesn't have to be. But for them to say that he wasn't, the absurdity to that when you consider it as something else. So, with the assistance of defendant Gregory to ensure Miss Preston could not interfere, that's the deputy sheriff, by the way. They couldn't interfere with the invasion of her privacy. The trespass 5 here proceeded to take anything they claimed belonged to Campbell, with no opportunity for Miss Preston to discuss the RV or any other items with Campbell, who was quote-unquote protected from even speaking with Miss Preston while the invasion ensued. Now, again, if you actually see the video, the deputy said anything that she disagrees with, all she had to do is say, that's mine. Or he can't take that. That's all that had to happen. And when she did that, an item would be left. That happened with a refrigerator. That was something that was disputed. Now, also, Lloyd doesn't have to have discussions with her. You can't make people. And it's funny because they talk about him being protected. Yeah, he was sitting in a car because he had had surgery. And they were sitting over there, and he didn't want anything to deal with Miss Preston. Luckily, there were 2 recordings that we saw that one of them showed him throughout all of this. And he was, you could tell, he handled pain very well. He handled it like some hardcore veterans often do. But you could see things get to him sometimes too, It's so crazy. Fish and Game showed more detail. Yes, indeed. Fish and Game showed a lot more detail through it. The invasion cracks you up. Indeed. The invasion thing is such a bizarre thing. I swear. Give me a second here. So give me 1 minute. I want to check something. Let me check it. Let me check it. See, I was listening like to playback because some people said they have YouTube problems and I'm not hearing them. Let me check it. See, I was listening like to playback because some people said I'm listening to myself. So and I'm not hearing them. So what kind of, are you having popping or anything else? I'll check the soundboard on it, but I'm not hearing anything. I checked the intro and I didn't hear it. But I'm curious what kind of the Inception stream. I was curious, like I haven't had any issues myself. See, I check it periodically and listen in one headphone and I haven't heard anything. But I'm curious if you are having some sound difficulties there, you know. I haven't noticed any, you know. Yeah, a lot of people are saying they didn't have any. Okay, good deal. I just want to make sure, you know. I do watch you all and I try to see, and if there's a problem, you know, I play the beginning. It's funny. So when I play the intro, I play it on my phone. You could just hear me like talking to myself on delay, and you hear how slow that was, by the way. Like where that came in after I'd spoken. That's how long of a delay that I have from when I speak something to when it comes up on the phone. It's so strange, or when it comes up on the broadcast. But I listened to the intro. If the intro, because the last time, you know, it had such a rocky intro that one time. So if you do notice something, I do appreciate when people note that, you know? Yeah, if they're having, okay. All right. Well, I appreciate it. Like I said, you know, and again, I'm not calling out your post on that. I do appreciate if people do have one, you know, because if it's a bad stream, you know, we will start things. So like I said, I do appreciate when people tell me that. But I'm glad everybody else, you know, again, if you're having problems on YouTube's in, try refreshing sometimes, and sometimes also if your broadcast, so you know, sometimes YouTube can set with your your provider, they can set it at too high of like a 1080. Like for here, you don't actually need 1080. You could set your broadcast to 720p and you'll be fine. You know, I broadcast at 720p. That's how I keep, you know, when you live out in the podunk, you know, I only broadcast at 1080p if I need to for video, like if we're showing a video. Otherwise, so that helps sometimes too. But anyway, let's continue. So with the assistants there, again, Lloyd doesn't have to interact at all. Oh, they let it, and Hales chose the defendants there, particularly Granger and Willis is his people, because they have active YouTube channels. Again, you look at this. This is so conspiratorial that if you had somebody come in and they didn't know what was happening, you see why this is a bad filing. It's such a bad one because for anybody that knows the story, this sounds mental. But for anybody that doesn't know the story, this is going to sound really mental. You see what I mean here? So, Miss Preston, while there, the defendants wandered around her property, taking video at private locations, even threatening to video HG until Miss Preston took action to shield the child from videoing. Now, she's tried putting that suggestion out there more than once, by the way. She's actually tried to throw that in before. It's wild. Noting they were making, threatening to do things. You know, she put that in. She did a kind of a copy paste for her newest filing with her quote unquote counterclaims and decided to put that one in there. And I thought that was kind of, again, pretty wild to make a claim of, because you would want to have something there. Please help my girl Georgie overtake Felicia by subs. 4K by the end of the week would be awesome. Actually, you know what we'll do? We will tomorrow. We'll start out tomorrow, and I want to make sure that Rosalind ends up growing, and Georgie, and they need to grow too. So we'll do that. We'll start it. We'll probably have a live stream tomorrow. I wasn't going to. I was going to take the day off, but So much stuff. So I don't feel like we will ever. I'm very entertained, but I don't feel like we'll catch up. So we'll start that tomorrow. We'll actually put right now, again, mods, if you would, put links to both channels. And if you do that, that would help out quite a bit. Hey, hold on for 1 second. All right. So Miss Preston, she felt helpless and violated and was terrified that her daughter would somehow be harmed or affected by the events. Now, prior to the unannounced invasion of the property on April 12th, there was no prior attempt to communicate by Campbell, the sheriff's office, Hales, or any of the people. You know what's funny about this? If Hales or anyone else would have tried to communicate with her, what would be the problem with that you can think of? Like, let me know. What would be, can you imagine if Jeremy Hales picked up the phone and called Lynette Preston on or before April the 12th? What would be the issue with that? Do tell. Do you think we would see another lawsuit too? I mean, that's the wild thing in there, because they're like, hey, they should have done this or they should have done that. Well, if they would have done that, it would have been a problem too. Yep. It'd be a violation. Yes, protective orders. You can't ask. See, Jeremy Hales wasn't there, period. He was not part of this at all. When a person reaches out and asks for assistance, that doesn't mean he is a part. He wasn't a party that went there physically. He didn't reach out. He maintained his distance because these people are crazy. They have pulled pew pew on him before. We saw it. So you see what the problem would be with all of that. So this is crazy to say, because if he would have done that, you know what would have happened. They'd had law enforcement swarming over him calling. It would have been called some kind of a threat. And the other thing is, Lloyd doesn't have to tell them anything. Lloyd doesn't owe Michelle Preston an explanation because of his own property. Again, if this were Michelle Preston, she would understand that. You know, if it were her property on someone else's, she would get it. If her RV was sitting on whomever's property, she'd make sure she got it. If they tried to stand in her way, she'd throw 10 shades of hell, right? So she would understand it then, but she thought this was a good way. And the sheriff, they didn't have to do that. In fact, interestingly enough, they didn't have to have a sheriff there. Now, they did need to have a sheriff there, but they didn't have to, because if Lloyd was like, come on my property and party, he has the right. If people have not been banned from there, he has the absolute right, the absolute authority to bring people on his property. So the idea that somebody had to have called is insane. They brought a deputy for everyone's safety and security. And I'm sure you can tell by the way that they act beforehand that they're nervous about the day. They are trying to do something, and they're trying to do something that's nice, but at the same time. So there was no basis for any of the defendants to responsibly believe it was necessary to have an armed deputy or any security or to conduct a surprise invasion. So they shouldn't have come with a deputy. They should have just, wait, they shouldn't be able to do anything at all. Wait, huh? That's strange, right? Again, imagine if they wouldn't have had it. So she actually agrees that they didn't have to have a sheriff. But I disagree about the word necessity or necessary. I think it was absolutely necessary. But she didn't feel that it needed to be there. Okay. Rescuing Campbell's RV and possessions was a pretext for Hales to have his people surprise and intimidate Mrs. Preston and take video footage of her property for broadcast on YouTube, as was known to all defendants. That's such a stupid thing to say. As was known. Any proof on that? None whatsoever. But hey, this kind of stuff, like again, a lawsuit like this can get you sued too. They make allegations, like I said, about Lloyd. Lloyd definitely could have taken action because he just wanted to be away from them. He said that. But over the next several days, what the hell? Defendants, Miss Madam Mayor Granger's YouTube channel, Madam Mayor's Adventures, as well as numerous other YouTube channels propagating Hale's fake reality storyline to profit from. By the way, if you'd like to help out this channel and you would like to help it profit, consider your breadsticks. You know, the butthurt, the major butthurt is about money. And again, Lynette, I don't understand your major butthurt about money because you made, oh, wait, somebody else kept your bank. I get it. I get it. Now, I did see a post by Lynette that gave me the sneaky suspicion that she's to the point where she might want help. I don't know yet. We'll see. But she definitely stated that sheriffs have been brought in and more. She's also, today she asked for proof of donations. Again, $19,100 was the only receipt that was ever shown by ThATuMBRELLA. But they admitted that the $50,000 plus had been their own words. They admitted that he had given that. They stated it multiple times. So that money exists. It did. And the money after that, again, they said that they made over double. I've been contacted by people that have talked about thousands. There was a live stream a long time ago where, if I'm remembering correctly, somebody talked about a very large other donation. But anyway, I digress. I'm getting off the topic. But she's been posting today too. I think she's starting to hear that money has been taken. Let's see. The story on all the channels broadcasting the property invasion was that HG was in danger, as evidenced by the cluttered property condition and based on the false statement of the channel hosts and a Save HG sprang up. You know what kills me on all? See, this is the kind of defamatory bullshit that comes up. Oh man, the child's in danger. As the main thing that was brought up through all of that was actually about Lloyd. That was the main discussion. Now, discussions about HG arose because of auxiliary things that transpired. And the real thing that brought up discussions in the aftermath, like for me, what made me discuss that was this lawsuit. When I went back in and watched the footage, that's when we had a discussion there. Like I've said, my discussions have always ranged around Miss Preston's own statements about red flags on the property, about John Cook. That's where my statements. So to say all. So Hale's fabricated the story of a supposed emergency removal proceeding. So look, this is like another lawsuit brought up. Again, other people, it's strange that as many weird lawsuits as they spawn, all these people, they act like these people weren't allowed to bring a lawsuit. They were. They absolutely were. But for the biological family to remove HG from the mother, causing thousands of his fans to call for Miss Preston's loss of child and placement, with people with no legal standing with whom HG has never known. What the hell's videos have repeatedly raised false questions about the legality, rather, I almost said legitimacy, legality of Miss Preston's adoption of HG, further causing fans of Miss Preston's further fans to call for Miss Preston's child to be removed. Following the broadcast of it, CPS visited Miss Preston 3 times, bringing the total to 27. In every case, clearing Miss Preston of abuse and neglect of her daughter. Again, I'm curious if they're going to blame Jeremy Hills for the last visit. Miss Preston, are you blaming Jeremy Hills for the last visit? The one where we clearly have your ex-PR team calling for, their fans definitely were calling for it. They were talking about wellness checks on you. I saw them myself. I'm not relying on anyone else's, give me 1 second, I'm getting a cord here. I'm not relying on anyone's secondhand statements about this too. I 100% saw them. I got the screenshot myself. People were like, check this out. Like, it sounds like the Predator. Don't. It's like some Predator stuff. I had a drop of water on my freaking phone. My phone's like, you can't charge me now. You must wait. I'm like, oh my God. All right. Oh, Lord. Anyway. Yeah, that happened while getting the battery out of the car. But it's funny. I wasn't thinking about it. I have this dun. It sounds like some really cheap Jaws effects. So funny. Okay, so Miss Preston received a visit from Elder Abuse Unit based on a false report of abuse by Lloyd Campbell, which was induced by Hales and George in furtherance of their scheme. What's sad is if he alleged that, did they write it off because of quote unquote YouTube drama? So an elderly gentleman that had been staying there made a complaint about that. The stated reason for arranging a crew of his people was that Campbell feared for his life. It was false and a pretext again. He could have been like, fuck her, I hate her. Excuse my words. But, he could be like, because I think bubblegum will rain from the sky and spaghetti monsters, they will arise. I mean, it could be the most absurd thing. It doesn't matter why he said it. He has the ability to get his stuff. He asked for a crew. He asked for them now. He has the right, I swear. As a result of the defendants, thousands of strangers from around the world have called for the removal of HG from Miss Preston's parental custody based on nothing more than seeing YouTube videos of What the Hales and other channels broadcasting invasion footage. Now, again, look at how insane all of this stuff is. Now, what's real interesting about this right here? Bruce was on this live stream. Her lawyer was on this live stream. He did not tell them, terminate this broadcast immediately or else. He made no statements of any kind like that. He, in fact, said that, I'm not saying he agreed with the lawsuit, but he did, or whether with a call, but he did not tell them to immediately stop that. He went on as a guest. He stayed on hold while that went on, while a call was done, and he said they should do it again. They should do it. I'm talking about a live stream, not a call. I'm not saying you should do a call, but he was there. It's so strange with that. That would have come up in all of that too. Now, as a result of the defendant's actions, One Channel Veteran Nation, during a live stream, August 20th, 2024, started a Change.org petition to have HG taken from Miss Preston. More than 300 viewers immediately signed. Now, they did not immediately sign, by the way. When I looked at it, it did not have 300 views or 300 viewers sign. That is not true. There were not 300 signatures immediately on that. And made a live CPS report. As a result of defendant's action, biological sister, HG's birth father, started a scam GoFundMe, raising money for the supposed court case with unnamed lawyers to get HG legally removed from Miss Preston's custody. It was the second such GoFundMe by the aunt, the prior one having been shut down and donations returned. Now, again, what if you were reading this, what would the lawsuit be about? So far, when you look at this, who is being sued? Like, if I didn't tell you who's being sued, who would you think is being sued? And what would you think the lawsuit was about? I would think that it was a lawsuit about, I don't know, some kind of supposed conspiracy where they were suing George, Jeremy, and Veteran Nation. I would think, by reading this, that's what I would think, that this somehow maybe Lloyd's in there, and I don't know, but I would think Jeremy would definitely be involved, right? Being sued. I would think George was definitely being sued in this, and I would think that Veteran Nation was being sued, if you read that, right? I mean, that seems correct, yeah, but I wouldn't know what this is about at all. I couldn't tell you. So this deals with the lawsuit for the petition for adoption. All of this, look how much is here. God, this is put into every filing. Look, there's an entire page devoted to that. God, that bores me so much to read. I'm skipping that. So there's a page, and here's another page. Oh, here we go. All the way down there. We're back to 49. So close to I'm going to say 1 1/4 pages at best. So all defendants knew or complicit in Hale's scheme to create a sensationalized, content-generating, high-interest storyline for YouTube content centered on saving HG. The entire set of events, property invasion, taking of the RV, false CPS reports, the involvement of family law. Again, you would think this has something to do. Again, you wouldn't think that all of this is because someone went on property and retrieved someone's property and RV. But it was all part of a scheme. Oh my God, man. So they sued again. Counts. This is what they sued for. And Lynette just tried to sue again for this. To make you understand that, she tried to bring these back as counterclaims. Okay. So isn't that interesting? So she tried to bring back count 1. 1 second. Got some on my teeth. Conversion. The defendant's act in taking the RV from her property was unauthorized. Defendant's removal of the RV deprived her of her property. She had already paid a significant portion of the purchase price, had the right to complain. Now, again, you notice they never showed any proof of that whatsoever. That would be curious. Lynette, did you ever have a receipt or anything that noted that? Like anything? Did you have any written agreement that proved that this existed? Because through all the months that this was stated, we never had any type of written proof. We had a text message where she stated that, and Lloyd was like, nah, we're not doing that. But did you have something that he signed? Did you all have something where you laid out $500 here? We would pay $200 if... And that's something, again, if, let's just say you did have that happen, folks. This proves why you always want a written contract. You want one no matter what. Whether, I'm talking about for Lloyd too. Lloyd should have had a written contract stating that these people were letting him live on the property and whatever was there. You know, what the terms and conditions were. If somebody's telling you, hey, you can stay on my property for free, you record them saying it, or you have a contract stating as such. It's better. It protects you because you don't have somebody turn around and do this to you. And it sucks to do that, but you see why, you would protect yourself. And on the Preston side, if that were true, again, you could see why that would be a problem. So they note, and again, this is the first thing that it kicks off with. This is aimed at Willis. Willis receives a letter from Preston's counsel, that would be Bruce, August 24th, 2024, informing him of Miss Preston's claim to the RV and warning him to preserve it, as he had aired a video on his YouTube channel, What You Do, Willis, promoting a fundraiser to purchase the RV from Campbell for donation to a veteran. What a terrible person, right? He was going to help get donations for that to help out a veteran and donate it to someone else, also a veteran, right? What a monster, helping out veterans. Oh, man, terrible human being, right? Notice how so much drama around Preston deals with RVs. It's weird too, isn't it? In response to that, on the 25th, Willis aired a video showing him giving the RV away. As a result, Preston suffered damages. Count 2, invasion of privacy intrusion. All defendants knew they were entering Miss Preston's property on the pretext of, for the purpose of wandering around. Again, this terrible lawsuit. Around videoing the property condition and clutter. You know what I love about this, by the way? It admits that the property is in terrible condition and there's a lot of clutter. There's an admission of that. Like that's an amazing admission to me. You know, the wording to that, it could have been better, but it couldn't have been much worse. You know what I'm saying? I mean, what a statement there. Good job, guys. Good job. I'm very proud of them. They write terribly. I'm sorry, I can't help it. All those defendants knew they were going to get on that property because there's fecal matter in posts. Holy God. I love this case. I absolutely love this case. Oh my God, people. This is where. So they're wandering around and to broadcast the footage in conjunction with the Hales fabricated Save HG storyline. What the Hales? All defendants intruded upon her property and privacy by entering pretextual reasonings, then wandering around and videoing. As a result, damages. Again, Preston, if you thought you had these, this is a terrible lawsuit. It's one of the worst I've ever seen. Again, if I can't look at a lawsuit and figure out, a lawsuit needs to be interesting. So the soap opera dynamic might actually get, you know, if you did it correctly, the soap opera dynamic, that lead might get a judge interested. They might be like, oh, that's weird. But you have to present it correctly. It has to sound good. You want something to stick out. You don't want it, you know, dry like, you know, 2-week-old bread or something, but you also don't want a mess like this. So, invasion of privacy, publication of private information. All the defendants knew, again, pretextual entry. They want a video property. They knew and intended that the video would be broadcast on What the Hales, Madam Mayor's Adventures, and other YouTube channels, regularly rebroadcast content, What the Hales related, bad neighbors, fake reality storyline. The video footage depicted private areas and revealed private information that the reasonable person would not want publicized and was not a matter of public interest. As a result, damages. Civil conspiracy. Now, that's terrible, by the way. This right here, they don't talk about the private information. You know, they make the allegation of it, but unfortunately for them, a video does exist. And the video would have showcased that there was nothing that had not been brought. In fact, they avoided the areas that a sheriff told them to avoid. A sheriff made it clear. This area, this area, this area, it's off limits, therefore. And they were like, okay, we'll avoid that. And they did. They did a good job of that. So it would have been kind of hard for that. But Let's see. Civil conspiracy. The defendants conspired to enter on the pretext of retrieving Campbell's RV, but they had ulterior unlawful purposes. Porpoises. I almost said porpoises. And some unlawful dolphins, baby. The defendants conspired to invade her property and video Ms. Preston's property for the purposes of broadcasting footage on What the Hales, Madam Mayor's Adventures, and other YouTube channels. As a result, all defendants are liable for the damages of Ms. Preston as a result of her invasion of privacy and the broadcast video footage. Count 5. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. These actions, extreme and outrageous, they're intentional. They should have known their actions would cause a reasonable person to suffer emotional distress. See, they're trying to make the point for this. This is a very hard count, by the way, to add into anything. For them, they threw a lot of paint at the wall, as it were, and tried. I love count 6, where they go after the deputy, too. They suffer severe emotional distress as a result of the actions of the defendant, including the resulting CPS calls by people who saw the video footage of Miss Preston's property and What the Hales and other YouTube channels and were influenced to make false reports leading to CPS visits. The plaintiffs suffered severe emotional distress as a result of being terrified due to those claims, etc., etc. Count 6. This versus the deputy. At all times, all relevant times, Deputy Gregory was acting under color of law. Now, Deputy Gregory could have notified Ms. Preston in advance. Didn't have to, though. He doesn't have to under color of law. Let's just say that Campbell wished to retrieve his property, enabled her to arrange for it without an unannounced invasion. Here's the thing, too. You could take this from the other side. See, this is what they leave open. This is why this is so stupid. He doesn't have to, because if she knew that he was coming, what would happen to his property? Now, again, I'm not claiming that anything would, but if he has fears that his property, it might ghost, it might be damaged, you know, they might knock his windows out, they might still, like, if they knew that he was going to remove his RV, what might they do to it? You know, she did go in. Now, one thing, Miss Preston, I would say, is I saw your video where you recorded going into his property and you did not have permission. That is actually a crime. You got lucky he did not try to press charges for that. So, Defendant Gregory used his authority to force Miss Preston to endure an invasion of her property, peace, and tranquility by 5 hostile individuals. It sounds so crazy. It sounds like we're going to watch some kind of, you know, those movies where you have some kind of crazed home invasion. That's what this sounds like. I'm going to start hearing about her escape room that she goes into. Defendant Gregory knew the other defendants were using the retrieval of Miss Campbell's RV and property as a pretext to gain access to Miss Preston's property for ulterior motives, including videoing the property for use on What the Hales and other YouTube channels. Defendant Gregory's presence unilaterally permitted the defendants to invade Miss Preston's property under the guard constituted an unreasonable seizure. My God. What a way to try to worm this. This is why this fails. Again, they just tried everything they could. They thought they were so clever with this too. Defendant Gregory knew the other defendants had no right to enter Miss Preston's property and, in fact, issued trespass citations. This was after the fact. They were asked if she wanted to trespass. She said yes. They volunteered to stay around. Like I said, now the deputy told them they didn't have to. Me, I would have been like, you know, forget this. I'm not sticking around. You know, but it was funny because they were like, yeah, we framed it. You know, they didn't want to be on the property. That was the whole point. They did not want to be there. They did a favor for somebody. And look, this is how doing favors for people works out sometimes. Now, Defendant Gregory's actions violated 42 USC 1983 by depriving Ms. Preston of her rights under the Fourth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, be free from unreasonable search and seizure. Defendant Gregory's conduct was actual cause of. One second, let me see. Let me make sure that this. Okay, that's actually where I end. I cut off the signature page. Okay, so you get the idea. This was the lawsuit they filed. Now, after that lawsuit was filed, nothing happened. Absolutely nothing happened. You had the Grangers, they respond to it because, of course, they have, they do what they're supposed to do. They get a lawyer, they respond, and nothing happens. Now, the problem with nothing happening is this lawsuit that was given plenty of time. They could have dropped it, walked away, no muss, no fuss. Just like the thumbnail case, really, when you think about it. You had plenty of opportunity to drop and walk away, but they waited and waited and waited. They initiated a litigation knowing they never intended on following through. That is a huge, huge problem. That's how you ended up, again, with the Grangers suing. Remember, too, they tried to lay all of this off on on Stark. I said Lloyd. On Stark. They did try to lay it off on Lloyd, but they tried to lay it off on Stark. They tried to say that him getting sick, that was the reason that everything fell apart. No. They started claiming all kinds of problems when they were asked questions about this. Really, the big problem, in my opinion, this is how everything fell apart. You had Preston about to be asked questions about the thumbnail lawsuit. She was going to be deposed. And when she was going to be deposed, you would have Stark sitting there with her. Stark would be the only attorney there with her. And I believe they all knew that was going to be a big problem. I think I'm going to say her counsel, her team, they were probably freaked out by that idea. Because you saw he had no idea what was going on in that lawsuit. Because when he was supposed to appear, 15 minutes reportedly before, they'd say he's not going to arrive, and then it just goes. It's gone. So they drop off the thumbnail lawsuit like that. Then they unceremoniously, they dropped the trespass 5-2. They kept saying they were going to pick it up and put it in another court. But here's the problem with it as well. They thought that they were going to just drop off. They brought it against multiple individuals, but they only added Jeremy Hales and George, where they were trying to bring it again. So the Grangers, they'd spent money on this. They also have to deal with, again, the stress of a garbage lawsuit. And when they told Lynette Preston's answer was to do nothing. It was like it didn't exist at all. And she knew it was there. We talked about it a bunch. We were like, do not ignore this lawsuit, Lynette. Because if you ignore this lawsuit, it's going to come back and it's going to bite you. But you would hear these people in the ecosystem, all these lawyers, all these others, they would be like, oh man, Lynette, it's no problem at all. And you see where we are now. Lynette, Preston, potentially again, you have a big problem here. This is a giant win. It gives you a look into the mindset of the judge that's here, and he ain't playing with you, Lynette. Again, judicial default, big problem for you. You should have taken it seriously. Now, Lynette, again, let me bring up one other thing today, okay? Lynette, like I've been telling you for a long time, though, you have been taking, oh my God, man. These people, dude. Wait till the spin. There will be so much spin for this. You watch. You watch the spin. I didn't do nothing. I'm not talking about with Lynette. You watch the idiots that help push this stuff and promote it. For months, they told people to give money to these lawsuits. They convinced Lynette Preston it was all good to go. What happened with it? They've all abandoned you now. So let's check this out. I want to show you one other thing too, okay? So Lynette has been posting still. Now she asks something very interesting today. She asked, and I quote here, so on either side, does anyone have any screenshots of any donations saying for the barn or house or any of us? Now, you actually have, again, only me. The guy who gave a fortune, he has said repeatedly, Miss Preston, he has made it clear over and over again. He's noted the amounts. He has noted when this stuff, I will put it on my screen. That way you can see some of this stuff here. You'll notice him bringing up, again, $56,000 repeatedly. Now, Lisa, she also said that $56,000, it was a legit total. So she is also part of that. If you want that, I can bring that up as well because I kept it. I kept that too. I knew it would be important later on. That's what blows my mind. Like I knew these people, they would do something crazy. So I kept all of those early live streams. I kept entire folders of it. And the reason I did it was, like I said, I knew that they would do some crazy stuff, Here, in fact, Lynette, if you want proof, when he starts asking for proof of what happened, you have people saying, oh man, that money, he never gave that much. And you're like, no, he sent a lot. He sent a lot. And she will further go forward and she will use $56,000. She states, look here, the 56K, that's $56,000, was not just for the barn. So she's telling you that there was $56,000 in donations. She's confirming that number for you, Preston. And there's a lot more proof of that too. But I figure if you wanted someone to clarify that for you, I mean, it's right there. But he puts that out there too. See, she's not showing receipts. And remember, they came in through PayPal. So we can't see them all. We would have never known those numbers existed. We would have never known at all if it was up to her. But he told you the specific dates too. Here are his dates. Look, give me 1 second. I'll pull up 1 minute. Let me pull up one other one. He actually gave you dates too, Preston. So I'm going to pull this up for you. You can see this. Sorry about that. Well, it does not want to pull up. Piece of crap. I hate this thing. I swear, I hate screen some days. It is acting so crappy. Give me a minute. Let me see if it will pull up. I've got it for sure. It's just being stupid. I hate this thing. There it is, I believe. There it is. Got it. All right. Took it a minute there. So there, I'm going to have to switch it off of this one. And I'm going to have to pull it up. I swear this thing is acting so badly. Give me a second here. I guess I'm going to have to scroll back to it. So look, you see these numbers right here? You have dates. Remember, it's done not in the US standard, so UK standard. So month, day, year. You can see 10/20/2024. He notes $10,000. That was for you. 11/5/2024. $20,000. That was for you. 11/13/2024. $1,000. That was for you. He goes on and on. Now they're admitting, he's admitting again. He told John that again, if they want to argue and say that money, oh, there it is. Again, he also, on top of that, he had donated money for a play area for you, well, for your daughter. And he had also said, he gave $56,000 repeatedly for your family. He says this over and over. So you have proof that happened, Preston. Over. He gave money to you. He gave extra money for other stuff. But this is one guy. There are other people. What you should do is ask donors if they gave money, especially those that are angry right now. If they gave money, come forward and hit you up. Because there are thousands more outside of this. And again, Lisa said the other day that this guy, he didn't matter because donors, they had given more than he gave. So that would mean if other people gave more than $56,000, that would mean you're over $100,000. So there you go. That's just a little bit of proof. If you want more proof, again, she ain't showing receipts. She shows one receipt for $19,000. She's telling you $18,000. Now, I want you to understand this too, Preston. I've talked about this. Like I said, she shows a receipt. That receipt, again, it's for $19,000. That's after David has paid fees because nobody sends $19,102. You can see it right here. Here's a receipt, right? She says that she ends up with $18,000. Again, that would be because she quick deposited into her bank account. She put all of your money into her money and into her, let's just say, her significant others too. And well, you know about their background. So there's more. I think she's starting to notice there's a problem here. She was saying, though, that she had no idea. She had never seen the amounts that had come in, She had never seen that. There also, somebody noted to her, people are noting quite a bit. They're like, look, when she's asking about that, a lot of people are like, yeah, Doug's noted it, repeatedly. And this person, and she says, actually, I'm neither son. I heard Doug offered to help you several times. Frankly, I think he's the best shot at getting to the bottom of the donations and expenditures. I also think he'll help you get your money back. All Lisa does is say nasty things about you now and your money situation. They're like, hey, maybe you should ask for help. She's like, well, it's not that simple. John is involved as well. So we're talking, huh? Well, you know what? John isn't getting your money back. Again, wouldn't you like to at least know how much money there was, Miss Preston? But again, the hard questions are going to become things like, how much money did they spend out of that money that you knew about? What did certain things cost? We would need actual totals. They spent the money for tax out of it. They bought certain items out of it. We would need, again, how much money other projects cost versus how much they brought in. They can't lie about it. Again, you need proper authorities involved. They have taken everything from you. And she's starting to ask questions. Man, but you're asking slow. You're asking slow, lady. In fact, you know what? It's going to take some convincing on your part for me to help you now. Okay. I've offered repeatedly, and I'm to the point where I'm like, meh. If you want to lose your money, that so be it. So, you better make up your mind, and you better have a convincing story on why I should help you, because nobody else will. I bet you money that her pals, their anti-Hales, they probably contact her, but they never bring this stuff up. Isn't it wild? So anyway, she's starting to talk about it more. So this might get real interesting. We'll see, though. We will see. But anyway, let me check a few things. There's more too. She's been posting quite a bit, you know. She's been posting quite a bit. It's so funny to see. Let me see. Somebody sent something yesterday, and I missed it, and I apologize. I wrote you to tell you that too yesterday, but give me 1 second. It came in at the very end, and I missed you there. Yes, sir. Soaring Soul. I appreciate you. You sent over $5. I missed that. Like, I didn't notice it. It wasn't at the end. It was actually, it just got buried in a bunch of other stuff, and that's my bad. Thank you. Thank you for the 5 there. I appreciate you. Mary, thanks for the 20 there. Wrote on this through Venmo. Make Saturday Live suck less again, money. Indeed. The night has been pretty fun. You got to admit, it's been good times. Max Lab, thank you for the super chat there too. Thank you, Max Lab. Too. I told you today is crazy, man. Isn't it funny? Now tomorrow again, I really think. What do y'all think about this? Tomorrow, I am really thinking about covering. And I want you to go ahead and watch this just so we can discuss it. You know, but I'm thinking about. Shara had an interview with Jamie Johnson. That interview is something else. She posted it today. I thought about going over because, wow, man. But I thought about hitting it because that's some big stuff. Some big stuff right there. What about pre-showing it? What do you think? Yeah, it was amazing. That's what I thought. I was like, man, take the day off. I hate it. If I'm off, I consider like Monday my day off because I'm not hosting. I'm on, but I don't have to do any prep work. So just getting on the live for like 2 hours is not very hard. I know. If people haven't heard it though, they should. It took me a minute to remember what I was saying there. Sorry. But Max Lab, thank you. Andre, thanks for the 2 there. Great news for Jeremy, George, and friends. Happy. Yes, indeed. Happy days for them, for sure. Props to them, too. Brazilla, thanks for the 2. Sent Trespass 5 song. I will check it out for sure. Thank you there. I noted this too, Knock, and thank you again for noting this. You're having problems with that. I'm glad you noted it. Again, if people are having problems like where their accounts won't let them super chat, let me know about that. That's very weird. And thanks for the 5. Hey, Doug, congrats. Yes, to Granger and Granger. That's right. They have quite the decision there. Again, I imagine that they will try to put something in and try to get the judge to say, oh, well, about that. But this judge was very... It was very purposeful in the way he did this, I suppose is what I want to say. Because the judge, he didn't wait around for the bankruptcy hearing. He could have waited around to see what was coming down the pipe. He could have allowed this or that, but he didn't. Because ultimately, he wants this done. He didn't want it in his docket. He sees a problem with it. And again, Lynette wants to rehash and revisit that entire freaking thing, but she can't try that, you know. Let me see. Yeah, Janice. Yeah, I'll hit that one for sure. Thank you. I'll read that in a minute. Saw that roll in. Colleen, thanks for the 5 there. So happy for the Grangers indeed. I need to talk to the Grangers again. You know what? Love to them, appreciate them. I need to talk to them again. You know. They're good people. Ira Lee, thanks for the 10 there. Congrats to the Grangers and the wedding couple. Yes, indeed. Congrats to Miyagi. Congrats to her green card. And congrats to Jay for their wonderful, wonderful wedding. That was actually a funny live stream. If you did not see Just Jay's live stream today, you should see it. It was pretty good. I had stuff going on today, but I was like, you know what? I've got to be there. Saturday in the middle of the day is hard with the kids and everybody. I was like, man, I've got to be there. I've got to talk to them. I've got to see what's there. I think it'll be fun. Let me see. Jada, thanks for the 10. Battery tower money, thank you there for sure. Just candy for the kiddos. Well, thank you. It probably will be battery recoup money is what I'm going to be aiming at for the next few days. Fallen Hero, thank you for the gifted membership. What's crazy is like I have been on the eating like $1.68 freaking meals from Wally World and stuff. I've been saving up some money, and Car's like, nah, you can't do that. I swear. Fallen Hero, man. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you all the time. For real. And I mean that legitly. Thank you for that. Thank you for being here all the time, my friend. Jackie, thanks for the 6 months. Things getting real now for Lynette and Crook. It is long overdue. Yes, indeed. It is. Sooner or later, this stuff rolls around, and it's not good for them. It's not going to go good for them. And I know they think it will. I know they have been told that everything is going to play out okay. But Lynette, it's not going to. I realize you think I'm the enemy. That's the craziest thing about all of this. You think because I don't like you that I'm your enemy. And I'm not your enemy. I'm just, I'm like many people. I told you how this would play. I told you ultimately you weren't going to get rich off of Hales. If something went like totally sideways in Hale's stuff, you managed to get money too. I wonder, here's a question for you. How often do you talk to your counsel? Do they charge you for that? And what I mean by that is when your counsel contacts you, are they billing that against as quote unquote fees if there's ever a win? Because let's just say in some crazy parallel world, you could win a case. You realize that 60-40 split, that's out of profit after costs. So if this person is saying every time I call you, let's just say they call you every other day. Okay. They spend an hour and you think, man, they're my friend there. No, they're billing you against future potential winnings. And they're billing you how much money? 200, 400? That's potential. You got to ask about that. I'm curious if that happens. I really there's so much stuff I would love to know about in this setup, man. I would love to know. Cynic in Chief, thanks for the 5 there. Things are going to get much worse for the fat flea, blood with green, not with red. That's right. Discovery will come, and you will have to comply or lose. That's right. They're going to have a problem. Again, this money, it went to Lynette. Lynette, you're filing bankruptcy. You realize that. So when you go forward, there will have to be a declaration of this money. If it's not declared, it will still be reported. I'm sure that they didn't tell you this, did they? They tell you there's no way that could happen. But that's your money. So you've been told to go on a path where that money, it gets reported. And these people have tried to steal it anyway. They have set you up to lose everything and look like a fool. Like I said, you're under a faux guardianship and you don't understand it. They consider you incompetent. They tell people that. They tell you you can't raise your kid right. They tell you you can't take care of your property. You can't take care of yourself. God, some of the stuff they've said that you do, it's wild, man. You should go through the transcripts and listen to what they tell people about you. It will blow your mind. But Cynic is right here. And he continues. He says, also, all those bank records will be evidence against her. It's held by third parties, so she can't get rid of it. That's right. She did all of this in the open. That is 100%. That is 100%. Oh, man. Actually, I missed this one in here. Will she refuse to hand over records, get defaulted, or contempt of court? Will she defy the judge and play with him? It'll be great. Yeah, there are. See, all these records, they are held by third parties. You know, when this stuff was done, and when I say, when I or Cynic in Chief say third parties, we're talking about places like PayPal. These money, when they were collected, they had to go through that. Again, Lynette, they're probably going to try to pull something where they, quote unquote, give money back. That seems to be the plan. And when they do that, they're going to really try to screw you, and they're going to try to pretend all that money was it was somehow used. It was like what Marla said. Marla tried to say that all the money that was brought together before, well, that was for different projects. So say somebody gave $30,000 for your fence and $5,000 was spent. Well, you still got your fence, right? So the other $25,000 that was for you, who cares? That's not true, though. That's not how that works. That's not how it works at all. That money was for you. People were supposed to be making your life better. It's going to be fun to watch. It is going to be fun to watch. Carol, thank you for the 4 months. Yeah, it's about time she gets what she deserves. Way overdue for the wake-up call. Yeah, you know what, Lynette? You're going to have a few of these. And again, you're trying to delay it court. All you've done in delaying is give people more time to collect more ammunition and to prove things that you know about, lies that have potentially been told by you or other people. Man, you know, these people too. I'm surprised. See, you're still protecting them in some ways. And that amazes me as well. Why would you protect these people? You know, when they're talking about, for example, here's something, Lynette. Did you know that that Lisa tried to interfere with businesses? Did you know that she offered somebody, allegedly anyway, $50,000 to interfere with a business to try to buy land out from under a business because it would be harass sales? Did you know about that? Were you party to it? Because it makes it look like you were party to it. So those kind of things there, you should be like, oh, you know, these people, either you are party or it looks very much because they were a third party that you were okay with being part of this stuff. It makes it look like you're okay with all those actions. And that is a crazy action. But Cynic in Chief, thanks for the 2780 watching. And you're going up against Medicare. Oh, man. Medicare, I will say, is... you know what? First of all, I hate that he's sick. He's been one of the most entertaining voices that has ever been online. He's one of the few people that folks should really, they should be scared of when he comes up and covers anything. He's amazing there. Yeah, we did good. We actually, at our height, we pulled right at 3,000. And then that's really good. Saturdays, man, that's really good. I'm proud of it. Thank you. But you know what? Really what pulls it is the crazy news today. And the awesome thumbnail. I got to give it up for that thumbnail too. That's pretty good. Janice, thanks for the 18 months. Lynette will lose the rest of the cases too. Her bankruptcy filing cannot keep judgments against her. That's right. She doesn't believe that, I bet, though. I bet you, again, Lynette, what does it take happening before you start doubting the people that tell you how these outcomes are going to go? Because I imagine she was told, don't worry about it. This is going to be written off. Again, I would encourage Lynette to talk to a lawyer outside the people that she's been speaking to. Have a free consultation. That'd be good. Hell, That would be something fun to do. You know, I would help you set up a free consultation if I could listen in and I would report what happened, because I would love to listen to your wake up call and be like, oh my God. Oh God, that would kill me. I'd love it. I would. But yes, it would. She'd be screwed. And John is screwed in his dude, doesn't understand it. I have my favorite. What's up? I have my favorites. Man, I appreciate you a lot. I do. You know what? I got 4 boxes, by the way, that were sent recently. They landed here. They hit on a good time. There was a lot of crazy going on life-wise. Again, in the last few months, too, period. People have sent stuff. I cannot say thank you enough. Whether it's been for the turtle thing or whether it's been, beads and stuff for the kids or a game. There was a dance pad that was stuff like that, man. You guys are awesome. I appreciate stuff like that. On when like a crappy day, I don't always go to the P.O. box right away too, because if a day is like, I like going over there and seeing what's there because it makes a day fun. And I appreciate you folks. I have my favorites. I appreciate you that and normally too, but I do appreciate that. William, thanks for the 10 there to help with your new Tower of Power. I think it's possible BBB never intended LP to win any of these cases and just uses the cases for high profile exposure for his benefit. Well, I think that BBB thought that he would win. I actually think this is my opinion. Okay. At the beginning, for sure, I thought he thought he would win with his statements. He thought that this stuff would. This is interesting. Look at later on, William. I've heard some really interesting theories that go that route, but I think for sure in the beginning, he 100% was thinking that these were just slam dunk easy wins. No muss, no fuss, but they went horribly awry. They did. I'd love for Lynette to talk about how Bruce got out of her stuff. Oh yeah, Troy, thank you too. I did have a thing come in for that. I don't know if you heard the alarm go off on my computer. I don't know if you guys can hear it when it went off, but I had a computer alarm set up right in the area. But yes, thank you for the reminder. As always, you guys look out for me and I appreciate it. I am very absent-minded. So thank you all. S. Shine too. I saw those come in when y'all said that too. I should have said something. I don't know. I'm so absent-minded. So like I said, I appreciate you all. Like Jackie, again, other people said that the glitches on YouTube were not shown on my side this time. I'm not saying that they don't happen for me though. Okay. So for yourself, check out, like, unplug your router, recheck it, see if that stuff, if it's interfering, and also look at the quality. Again, the little wheel in the corner. Go and reset that wheel. If it's too low, it'll automatically set like a quality standard. Sometimes it sets it really low and your images look like mud, but set it about 720p for me, unless I'm showing you a video from something. If I'm showing you a video, show it at 1080, but otherwise I just broadcast at 720. Like, I don't need to broadcast at 1080 to show you a screenshot. You know what I mean? It hogs too much bandwidth, and sometimes it does it for everybody. Now, Jack's mom, thank you again. By the way, I will be mailing that thing first thing next week. Jack's mom noted this, by the way, and I appreciate it. Jack's mom, there were commissions. My oldest did some, she calls it candy. I call them bracelets. I don't know where the name candy comes from, Kandi, but she wanted to save up for 2 stuffed animals. So she had made me these bracelets, and some people asked if they could get her to make something, and I let her do like a handful of them, and I appreciate y'all like doing so. So that was very much appreciated. She got a taste of responsibility with that. She made something. she got to see how you can, if you're creative and, you look at what other people would like to. It was a good object lesson in getting something that she wanted and saving up for it. So I thought that was good. Actually working for something. So that's great too. I appreciate it. There are a few of you out there that appreciate y'all. Emmy, thanks for the 5 there. Are we having a problem with these? With what? What are these? With the super chats? There were some people said that they were having a problem with super chats. If that's what you're talking about. Yeah. Some people were saying that they could not actually do super chat. So some did. Now, some people don't seem to. I don't know what's up with that. That's why I was like, if you're having an issue, let me know. Double Karma, thanks for the 5 there. Please help my girl Georgie overtake Felisa in subs. 4K by the end of the week would be awesome. That'd be really funny. You know what? I can get behind this. I want Georgie to overtake 2L. I want that. I want Rosalind to overtake 2L. So I want them firmly. When I say overtake, I don't even know what numbers people are on right now, but I want them firmly entrenched well beyond it. Look at what happened with Shara. Shara ended up, again, look at how much of a following Shara has now. With the ecosystem, remember, before, when they quote unquote were helping her out and, promoting her supposedly, she had 30 followers or less. Now she has what she should have. She has thousands and growing. So props. Man, also again, I have to thank Miltoast yet again. Made a video out of the decline of the Hales coverage. Again, what a great job in making the point that people have targeted his brand enough that there has been a diminishing return on him. Great job. I would never make a video stating that someone that is suing me, that their brand has been falling off. That is very stupid. But good job with that. Good job. See, the thing is, you can't say, they want to draw the conclusion, oh, look, people are not interested in the brand. Well, could that be because that brand has been under siege for a while? Could that be damage actually showcasing? I think that's a fascinating thing to bring up, and to pretend that, well, that's not me, that's not them. Okay. Puzzler, what's up? Element OP's lawsuit name should be Invasion of the RV Snatchers. That would actually be a really funny. Let me tell ChatGPT to make this, ChatGPT. Let me see. I'm going to do that on my phone. Give me a second. I'm going to make that. Check it out. Let me see. ChatGPT. Okay. Let's see. Take this person. Okay. Take this person and make a poster for a movie entitled Invasion of the RV Snatchers. Make sure there are 5 quote unquote people stealing an RV from this person, and they and their family are terrified by it, like a horror movie, Let's see what it does. Invasion of the RV Snatchers. I'm trying it. I'm gonna see. I'm gonna play with that. See what ChatGPT does on it. That's really funny though. And also, a very merry birthday to you. Came out Red Queen. Thanks for the 10. Weekend overtime. Special breadstick funds. Oh, yeah. Overtime pay, baby. Overtime pay. Thank you. Lizzie, thanks for the month there. Thank you, Lizzie. So sick of the anti-health people. As if we can't see exactly what's happening. It's unfortunate judges don't always get the full picture. Indeed. They don't. That's why, ultimately, people need to continue to watch this insanity, how it goes on, because these folks, if you've been watching this since the go, you know exactly how this is played. You know why it's important. Suzanne, thanks for the 13 months. I don't understand how a judge didn't see through. Oh, well, some of them do. Some of them absolutely do. With like the whole mess with trespass by the original lawsuit, I think a judge would have seen through it. But remember, it never moved forward with any, I guess, with anything really. They filed some garbage, and the Grangers, again, they responded. And with them filing, period, under Florida, we've talked about with our own lawsuit, because we have our lawsuit against Leslie Federico's. Well, we've talked about how all you really need to do is file your malicious BS, but it went further, and you saw them spending money and more. So I think a judge would have seen through it, and I think they kind of understood that too. Scott dropped 5 gifted membership. Thank you, Scott. That is awesome. Much appreciated too. Thank you. Jack's mom, thanks for the 2. It's not John's money. That's right. That is 100% as well. It's really HG's money, but Lynette Preston is her guardian. So they cannot say it is not Lynette Preston's. But when they raised it in the name of HG and LP. They can pretend that they left LP out of it, but they didn't. LP, it wasn't HG getting the barn dominium. It may have served for HG, but you're right. It was supposed to be for those two. You're 100%. BK, what's up, Big K? I appreciate you, BK. That's awesome, man. 5 gifted membership. I love gifted memberships. Thank you, BK. Oh, by the way, I've had a few people write for Muppets again. I will go through and check on those tomorrow. I'll look at some of those. I haven't had a chance today, so I saw 1 or 2 come through, and I have done 3, I think, in the last few days. So I appreciate that. If you wanted a Muppet, like I said, I don't mind sticking your picture in ChatGPT. Now, I've had a couple of people complain they didn't like theirs. I don't make them. I just stick in a picture, and ChatGPT makes it. I say, make this AI picture. That's what I tell it. AI picture into a happy. It has to be happy Muppet. They can't be like Muppet or angry or anything. They have to be a happy Muppet, because it can't be negative or it won't do it. But, yeah. Thank you, BK. Appreciate you. Thank you. Man, my mind's all over the place some days. I know how to start mentioning Muppets with memberships. Georgie, thank you for the 5 there. Douglasworth, much love, my friend. Well, I appreciate it. And like I said, I think it's funny. These people hate you. They absolutely hate you. They absolutely hate Mr. Coop. I think it's funny. It amuses me very much. The amount of vitriol that they point at you guys. It's so amazing, too. They make up like the craziest shit about George and Mr. Cooper. I mean, it's just the wildest stuff. And it makes me laugh. Janice, thanks for the 10 there. Everyone is telling Lynette to contact you for receipts of the money and others' info. She also is being told not to rely solely on the sheriff. Told to contact the feds also. Yes. Told you talked to that. Yes, indeed. I did. Again, though, he said all this stuff publicly. What I'm reinforcing, he said publicly. There were certain things he did say that I'm not going to put out there. I think that's legit. At first, I thought, well, is this a conversation that is public or not? But then he made statements about stuff publicly. Like when he brought up the 50,000, like that would have been something. I don't know if he was going to bring that up publicly or not, but that came up, and it was something that he wanted discussed, but he very much brought that up. It's pretty funny. Give me 1 second. Had to answer somebody real quick. Christy, thanks for the 2 there. Sent 5 before intro. Didn't show up. Oh no, did it not? No, it didn't show up. I'm sorry, Christine. Thank you. Was there a question or anything attached to it, or was it just sending? Thank you, Christine, first of all. I appreciate that. Usually it does show them though. That's the weird thing. But it doesn't. I'm only rolling up to a certain place and I don't see it there. So thank you for doing that. It does credit it to the account, but I guess that's a new, they changed the thing we host with, StreamYards. They've changed up a few things in it recently. Now, it doesn't control the super chat, but it controls when you see it. So I didn't realize that. That's crazy. So thank you for noting that, first of all, Christine. And if you noted something, okay, just a statement. Well, thank you. I do appreciate it too. I like to get, I like you noted that. First of all, thank you again. But I also like that you noted that because I don't like to ignore super chats. You guys make the channel work, and you make it where, again, this can be an occupation for me, and I get to do this. I get to laugh. I get to research it all day. I get to read transcripts. It's so bizarre. It's funny. Like I had somebody ask me the other day. I was listening to an AI train. The transcripts are terrible. You've seen some of them and how they come together. But I listen to them when I'm out, and I put them on like 1.75 speed. Sometimes on 2 speed, depending on what's on there. And somebody was listening to that, and they were like, "My God, that is the worst thing I've ever heard. What is that?" So I explained it to them. And they're like, "That's crazy," because even for a sped up live stream for them, you're still spending 2 hours plus going through their garbage live streams. But at least you don't have to listen to them. But they were like, "What in God's name is that noise?" It's so funny. Georgie, thanks for the Tizzy, almost missed you first. Tizzy, thank you. Appreciate the gifted membership. Sorry about that too, Tizzy. I don't know. Again, my brain's all over the place today. But it's because I'm having fun. Thank you, Tizzy. Georgie, thanks for the 5. Head Moron is over there saying, "This wasn't a judge's order." Oh my God, she's dumb. What does she think that is? Like, what exactly does she think this is? I mean, here, let me show you. Okay. You want to see something here? Let me show you here. Okay. So let me pull this up for at the bottom. All right. Let's see. Is this the right one? So who signed this? Well, you see that this actually came in on the 16th. So it was signed off by Judge Grabe. Again, you see that, right? Judge Grabe. Again, this is Judge Grabe saying he is granting a motion for, who else would grant a motion? These people are so dumb. It blows my mind. Who else? Again, there was a motion for default that was filed by the other side. This is a motion. This is an order granting a motion. This again is signed by the judge that is involved in this stuff, and you see the certificate of e-filing. Give me a second here. You can see that it's got both. I didn't care if Randy's was on there, but Michelle Preston's emails are on there too. I don't want to scan those, but I want to pull down below this because it has the other signature, and you can see here's the judicial assistant's signature as well. So very much so. I mean, it's got Again, it's got the judge's signature. It has the certificate of service, and it notes that today I hereby certify that copies have been furnished by U.S. mail or via filing with the federal court's e-filing portal on the 20th, 2025 to the following. This was given to Randy Shockett, and it was given to Michelle Preston because she does not have a lawyer. She is pro se. So what the fuck do they think this is? I mean, honestly, what do they think it is? I mean, my God. Oh my God. Yeah, in Florida, you're allowed to keep a certain amount of your vehicle's value from seizure. Yeah, actually, S. Sean, you're correct in that too. I saw your stuff. You're allowed to keep so much of your personal property. You're allowed with a vehicle, and you have your property itself, like your land. But that's in a typical bankruptcy. That's in a typical bankruptcy. Oh my gosh. These people, man, they blow my mind. Blow my mind, and they blow my other mind. It's killing me. Jack's mom, thanks for the. Did you get the trash robot? Yes, I got the robot thing, Jack's mom. It came yesterday, as a matter of fact. And it's funny. I told my oldest she would have to give me back the trash can because she is on that robot kick. So right away she was like, "That's mine." I was like, "I need the trash can back." It's part of my display. The one thing I somebody asked me what else that was necessary for the plastic turtle rescue. I need like I don't know what it should be because it can't be huge, but I need like a small flatbed, like a little tiny thing that works as a flatbed so I can put the garbage on top of it. That would be good. I'm missing that there. Janice, thanks for the 10. Deuce Foreskin ambulance chaser was counting on Jeremy not to fight back and rolling over for lawsuits he filed. I'm half on that. He says wrong. Jeremy's a fighter. Yeah, I actually think that, I mean, he thought maybe that, well, I think they thought that, first of all, that DJ Radis was going to roll. This was their plan, in my opinion, okay? They thought when they filed this a bunch of people, once they got into a lawsuit, they thought there would be a weak link. That weak link would be DJ Radis. They were wrong, by the way. They were wrong. But what they would do is they would approach that one person with a quote-unquote settlement offer, whether that's for nothing, whatever. They're just admitting wrongdoing. Then they get to go back. They get to say, oh, look, we already had a party that settled with us. Therefore, that's why in my opinion, with DUI guy, that's why they tried to get DUI guy to settle, because they thought if they could get something from him, they could use it as a weapon. See, even though there's no wrongdoing, they could try to convince a court, hey, look at this. Somebody else admitted that there's a problem here. Therefore, well, wrongdoing, right? Now, it didn't work, though. It didn't work. Man, you can tell, like, from that, God, Bruce, God, he hates he hates certain people. He hates Jeremy, Megan, and DUI guy. I think he really dislikes them a lot. He dislikes me enough, but he dislikes them at just crazy levels, it seems. That kind of blows my mind sometimes. Anytime he's had a chance, like for example, you could always tell that, like with Megan, for example, you can tell he really dislikes her specifically, because when something comes up, he will he'll point her out and nobody else on the stream. He'll be like, she's a problem. Now with the UI guys, the same way. Now I don't know if that's because he told him no at one time, didn't have him on, if it's because of the issue with settlement. I'm not sure. And Jeremy, of course, I think all of that it's wild sometimes to see, isn't it? Rhea Ra, thanks for the 2 there. Dwayne's birthday super chat. What? Where is it, Dwayne? Did I miss you? Let me see. Dwayne. I'm trying to find you, Dwayne. Dwayne. I'm looking for you, Dwayne. I haven't seen you, Dwayne. Where are you? Give me a second, Dwayne. I'm still looking. Lizzie. Susie. 1 second. BK. I'm just trying to find it, Dwayne. Am I missing it? Rhea, I don't see it. It's not in there. It's not in my mix. I don't see it. So is it Dwayne's birthday? Dwayne, is it your birthday? Yeah, it's not at the very top. Mine starts with Max Lab. So did it cut it off? Is it your birthday, Dwayne? Is that what it is? Somebody acknowledge that. If it's Dwayne's birthday, it was right after Christine's. Man, I don't see it. Am I missing it? Give me a minute. I'm just trying to. I'm sorry, folks. Yeah. Look, I'm going to show them in order. So, check this out. This is how they show up on my screen. Okay, I have BK, Georgie. There's Christine. There you are. Tizzy, Georgie, Jack, Janice, Rira. So it's not there. But if it's your birthday, buddy, I'm going to note this. Okay, Dwayne. I don't care if it shows or not. I appreciate, like I said, I don't see it there. That disturbs me because I do not like missing them. I especially do not like missing something like a birthday announcement. That ticks me off, man. Because very merry on birthday for you. Let's get this here. Here we go. Song time.
Happy birthday!
Spy YouTube trying to sabotage this.
To you.
Happy birthday. That's right.
May all your dreams come true. Happy birthday. We love to have you here. Happy birthday. Here's to another year.
Thank you, Dwayne. Dwayne, I am so. I'm glad somebody. Maria Rye, thank you for pointing that out. I don't like missing anybody, Dwayne. I do not, especially want to miss yours. Some of you I know like so well by name. Let me see if it shows up. Let me check something real quick, okay? I'm checking the regular thing. Just give me 1 minute. Let me see what the star. Oh yeah, dude, that's wild. So I see it, Christine. So here I can see it on my regular like feed here. Like when I look at YouTube. So if I go into YouTube Studio, which I can't put on, the reason we don't usually do it this way is I can't put it on the screen. I like to put it on the screen. But yeah, I see this. Christine, you noted, and thanks for the 5 here. The first dominoes have fallen in the ecosystem. You're right. I see it there, and Dwayne noted, it's my birthday. Thank you, both of you. And I apologize for that. I'm glad y'all said something. Gosh, man, that's weird. That is very weird. But thank y'all, both of you. I see it. I can see it in the studio. So I guess I'm going to have to pull the studios and check the early ones. And I'm going to make a complaint to StreamYards and see if they can fix that too. Susie, Sassy, one of the reasons I don't change from StreamYards, by the way. So with StreamYards, nowadays, if you have a service that you hook up with, some of them are $40, $50 or more. They're crazy. When I got StreamYards, it used to be $25, right? And mine is frozen at $25 so far, at least. I pay that continually because that was supposed to be for a lifetime. Now we'll see if they stick with it. Some people aren't getting that lifetime, but I do. I've got it locked in at $25. So I like that, but I don't want it to mess up, It's so wild what streaming ends up costing because we use AI for all the images with Muppets and stuff. There's $20. We use if we're using all like song makers and everything else, we spend, God, you can get up in hundreds real easy. It's pretty crazy. But streaming, the platforms that allow you to stream, some of them have got nuts. Very nuts. OBS too. I would use OBS, but I can't. It won't play. So anyway, Sassy, thanks for the 3 months there. Lord, I'm so behind. I've been working nonstop. I have like 4 or 5 different videos and streams to catch up on. LOL. Well, if you need a refresher, one of the ways to do that, first of all, if you've been away for like a week, you got to remember in the last say week or so, you had Preston. She has gone like call out central on 2L. All right. You can go check that out on Facebook. You can check it out on YouTube. I just look up Otter Creek Pickles and you'll run across her thing. But you can see where she's been calling them out. And it's really interesting to see. I mean, she called them out with receipts. So that one's a big one. You have this litigation. You remember you had a hearing there. Well, on, I believe was it the 17th? Give me 1 second. I'll check a date. Let me check a date for you, okay? Give me 1 minute here. So on the 1 second here. Now it's the 15th. Lynette said she was going to file something. Now she was late with filing. I don't know if she tried to send something in on those dates. She should have already filed, but we'll see. What? I watch So You Don't Have To. Rumors are starting that the judge in these Otter Creek cases knows DUI guy plus. Supposedly he recognized him in a Zoom meeting. That's not what happened at all, by the way. So check this out. They're lying. They're absolutely lying about that. So check this out. I'm going to counter this right now because this is bullshit. We saw it. We actually saw the Zoom meeting. So they're just making this shit up. They're absolutely just making stuff up. So give me 1 second here. Look at this. Hey, Joanne, I see your birthday on YouTube or on Facebook. Look at there. There it is now. Look, it told me, hey, there's 3 other people too. Sandy, Patty, and Joanne. Hey, you all have birthdays too. Let me birthday all of y'all, you know? Give me a second. I'll do that, you know? And Terry too. 45th wedding anniversary. That's awesome. I still like them sometimes. I hear you. I hear you there. Man, let me give you some love there. Let me give you the happy anniversary. And then I want to counter this stupid thing that they're saying right here before I leave.
Happy, happy birthday from both of us to you. Happy, happy birthday. May all your dreams come true. Happy, happy birthday. We love to have you here. Happy, happy birthday.
Happy anniversary.
Here's to another year.
Happy anniversary. 45 is awesome. That is great. Now this, I watched So You Don't Have To. I just saw this come up while I was rolling through here. Man, some of this stuff, by the way, you see all these stupid things they get. I can't believe what Facebook pushes toward me. It's like you tell it you're male and it posts car. I don't care about cars. It posts thirst trap videos. I don't care about that, you know. And it gave me 2 things that I liked. It gave me like people jumping off of cliffs, you know, some of those crazy divers and stuff. I'd never seen those, but I thought they were pretty good. And some crazy alligator stuff, you know. So it barely ever gives me anything though from the groups. I have to check them every day. It's so weird. But I did get this. So I watched So You Don't Have To noted and said, rumors are starting that the judge in these Otter Creek cases knows DUI guy plus. Supposedly, he recognizes him in Zoom meetings, and that's why the ruling came so fast. The flea tells the dwellers the judgment isn't true. Nothing has changed except the paperwork filed. What? Like, again, I just showed you the paperwork. The paperwork is legit. That is 100% what is on. So, again, will they try to answer it? Potentially. But that is a 100% legit filing. The judge filed. But the hearing DUI guy, he didn't recognize DUI guy. He confused him for a lawyer. He thought that DUI guy was representing Preston because he looked snazzy. He looked really good in that. In fact, if you've seen the video of it, you'll see how that plays out. It's so absurd to say that he recognizes him in that. God, it's so dumb. Ugh. So weird. But anyway, yeah, Larry is definitely, he's playing chess. He is just now and whatever. He's just sitting there, you know, in front of the judge, the showman. He looks like a legit lawyer. That's why, you know, they thought that Larry was Preston's lawyer because the other guy didn't look like he was put together that well, but Larry did. All right. Now, what I'm going to do tonight, like I said, every Saturday, I redirect you to Flashcast. That is, now, I note that with a caveat. If you are offended by stuff, do not go there. But if you want to laugh at stupid or see crazy going on, enjoy it. Yellow Flash is somebody I like. That guy, he's had my back for years. And I like a lot of the people on the panel, but they talk about politics. They talk about social crazy. If you don't like that stuff, that's fine. But if you want to laugh at stupid and if you want to disagree too, you're allowed to as well. That's the beautiful thing about that. But I'm going to redirect you there. Like I said, love those guys. Good people. You know, him, Raging Rhino, Tom, again, those are the kind of people when stuff gets crazy on YouTube, when stuff gets crazy in real life, people try to destroy your life. Those are the people that stand with you. So that's the kind of friend you want, you know. But anyway, I'm going to end here. I'm going to redirect you. Appreciate you. And we will see you tomorrow, I'm thinking.